Hey, shalom guys, it's Fletch. Welcome back to OTH. Thank you for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. And what you are looking at right now is the Kobalt 24 volt brushless line of impact drivers. And stick around till the end of the video. At the end of the video, I'm going to put in some helpful hints and advice about the Kobalt line that you probably won't hear or know from any other source. So be sure to stick around to the end. We'll be right back. So what we're hopefully going to do today is do kind of a mini review and then also kind of maybe some philosophy of use or something like that about the different options that Kobalt has as far as impact drivers go. So first off, let's talk about some philosophy of use, so to speak. The biggest half-inch impact driver that Kobalt makes is the big dog right here, and it takes the exact same batteries as the rest of the line. There is no difference. Let's get back to the big dog. So this is the big impact driver, impact wrench, it's probably the more correct term, that Kobalt makes. And this is model K as in King, I as in Ida, W as in Whiskey, KIW 1524A as in Adam -03. And just so we're on the same page, sometimes manufacturers come out with a little bit different model numbers depending on how you buy it. Sometimes you get a little bit different drill or impact driver or whatever if you're buying it in a kit versus if you're just buying a standalone. So that's why it's important that when you're watching videos about tools and whatever and you're comparing tit for tat, that you make sure that you're comparing the best product they have for the money that you're able to spend, compared to the other one. So having said that, let's finish talking about the specs for the big dog. Underload, the big dog here goes, RPMs is 1900 underload and 2400 without much load on it. So, it speeds up as it senses that there's no load on it. And this has 650 foot-pounds of torque, tightening or breakaway power, trying to break things off. And if you guys aren't aware of such things, you also need to have an impact driver attachment. And so, they're this black color like this, generally speaking. And because the impacts per minute hitting on that, a lot of times will crack a standard socket or converter like you're looking at there. Just something to keep in mind. But yeah, this impact driver is perfectly capable of removing lugs off of any vehicle, probably even tractors and things like that. Certainly is a Kubota. I've done that. Let's see, what else? The nut on the bottom of a mowing deck, those typically have a big, like 20 or 24, 22 millimeter nut or something like that, that a lot of times can be on there pretty tight. This can take those right off, no problem. And so this is the largest offering and the most powerful offering that Kobalt makes in the 24 volt brushless line. Next, let's talk about this. I don't currently, as of this date, again, November the 28th, I don't see this particular impact driver listed on the site anymore. However, it was available in a package with, I think it was with a drill. But anyways, let's see, this is KCW 1524B-03. This is a half-inch driver. And this half-inch driver is the identical in specs as far as to how much foot-pounds of torque it can put out and its RPM and everything as the 3/8 that is still currently, as of this date, on Lowe's.com. Now, the reason why I chose to buy the half in the smaller size, if I don't need to get out the big dog, because this one's heavy, guys. This one's a lot easier. And so, you know, if you know it's a fairly easy job, things you're doing, I use this one a lot for working on my ATV, my lawnmower, stuff like that, because it has more than enough power. This smaller one here will actually take the lugs off a car. You know, it might sit there for maybe a second or two before it breaks it loose, but it can certainly do it. It's certainly capable of it. And so let's go ahead and talk about that right now. These smaller ones, this size, they have 150 foot-pounds of torque. They run at 2,300 RPM, and they have 3,500 impacts per minute. And again, that's the same whether it's the 3/8 or the half. The only difference is what size the fitment piece on the front is. Like this has got a socket fitment of a 1/2 inch, and then the 3/8 is the exact same, except that it has a 3/8 on there. And the reason why I chose the 1/2 inch was because you can buy an adapter, and it has to be an impact adapter, but an impact adapter like this, and you can slide that on, and now you've got a 3/8 drive, and so you've got both 1/2 inch and 3/8. The only downside to doing something like this is that, you know, obviously it's going to increase your length, and if you're trying to get this in a tight spot, obviously that's not going to work, and you know, you would probably want or need to get an actual socket wrench, right? And so that it, you know, the depth of it's, you know, about yay wide instead of, you know, this wide. You could also then, if you wanted to, right, if you wanted to convert it down a quarter, you could add on another one, and now you've got a quarter, but again, you're pushed out another 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So just some things to keep in mind. So make sure that you know what you're getting if you're buying online. These are both marked as 1/2 inch impact wrenches, I believe, or drivers. And so make sure you know what you're buying when you're getting them, because this is 650 foot-pounds of torque and this is only 150. Obviously, you know, there's a huge difference in power there between the two. Then that also brings up the 1/4 inch impact driver. In here I've got a T25 extend a bit that's in there, and if you're not aware of such things, the reason why it's advantageous to use an extension like this is because it keeps the face of your impact driver away from the wood and the different things that you're working on, so it keeps the face of your tools from getting all marred and tore up. And so I use these on everything that I use. And then also, you know, you can use these quick attach drivers like this, and you can put, right, like a Phillips head in there. And same thing, you know, it keeps it away from the face and tearing up the face of it. It's a lot cheaper and easier just to replace right, this little extension than it is the whole face of your tool, because you got it all marred and chewed up. All right, so let's talk about the specs of this impact driver. And guys, all manufacturers do this, so I'm not just bagging on Kobalt. Having said that, the standalone impact driver is a better driver typically than what you're going to get in the kit. And I think there's one kit that comes with the better drill. We'll talk about that in a minute, but there is one kit that comes with the better impact driver, and the better impact driver is Model 1324B-03. And the specs of it has 3,500 impacts per minute, 1,800 foot-pounds of torque, or excuse me, 1,800 pounds of torque. That's not the same as foot-pounds of torque, by the way, if you're not aware of such things. And it has a range of speeds up to, I think it's 850 to 2,700. And also just a couple of things talking about why Kobalt, or why, you know, their line of impact drivers. They're all brushless motors, and basically you're hopefully, ideally looking for up to 10 times longer run life out of a tool. Because of the brushless design, it's just a better, more efficient motor. And you're also looking to get about 1.5 times better runtime on your batteries. So ideally, you know, if you had a product that had, you know, the exact same size motor and specs and everything, but one was brushed and one was brushless, the brushless motor is going to last up to 10 times longer, and on the same battery you're going to have about 1.5 times better runtime. The easiest way to tell which is the upgraded impact driver versus the one that's not is to see on the front here, you've got the 3 different speed settings. See right here, you've got the speeds. You got, here's the speeds. You've got 1, 2, and then 3. 3 obviously being the fastest, and 1 being the slowest. You can tell 1's quite a bit slower, 2's a little bit faster, and then 3 is obviously the fastest speed that it offers. And then this on here is the finish setting, so you can set that to drive your screws into a certain point. And so basically what it's doing is just sensing pressure. And when the head of your screw comes flush, it's supposed to stop, and it does work halfway decent. All right, so, and then the driver that you're gonna get that comes with a lot of kits does not have a 3-speed. So when you're looking at the description of the kits, see if it's a 3-speed. If it's not a 3-speed, you're gonna get one, you know, it's just 1 speed. It runs at 2,600 RPM, and you got about 3,400 impacts per minute. So what you're gonna gain from going to the standalone model versus the kit model is a little bit more RPM and 100 more impacts per minute. So, you know, if you're a professional or someone that just wants the best possible tools, then you'll want to buy a kit that has the the upgraded impact driver in it versus the other. Honestly, if you are just a homeowner and you're going to use this, every once in a while, maybe a couple of times a month or whatever, that kit one is more than powerful enough to do anything that you're going to need. I would not be afraid of it at all, not in the slightest bit. Now, having said that, we mentioned this earlier too, the difference between your standalone models and your kit models. Well, here's the drills. The drills are super easy to tell because the standalone higher quality drill has got this gray collar on here and the other one doesn't. And the reason why I bought both is so that when I'm working on a project and my son is helping me, we've got 2 drills that use the same batteries. And again, there is a little bit difference in performance from this kit drill model versus the standard one, but not enough that the average homeowner is going to notice, and it's not going to affect anything you're doing. Obviously, you're a professional, and you're running that. Some people call them screw guns, whatever. If you're running this 1/4-inch driver, nut driver, or screwdriver all day with like a T25 bit in it, and you're doing a deck, yeah, there might be some time savings for you by the end of the day or the end of the week or whatever. Now, having said that, another thing that I want to mention to you as far as philosophy of use is that the power that this 1/4-inch driver has is basically the exact same as this 3/8 and 1/2-inch impact driver has as well. And so what you can do is you can buy these 1/4-inch adapters. And these are impact adapters. I'll get a close-up here for you. These are impact adapters. There's a 1/4, a 3/8, and a 1/2 there. And so what you can do is you just simply slide that in there. And obviously you want to buy, these that are impact adapters, because a standard adapter that is, just a metallic color like this is not an impact adapter, and after a while you will snap that and it will break, versus something like this. For me, I tend to try to buy quality when it comes to items like this that have a high propensity to break, which these do. I think these are Bosch, and then this is a DeWalt. But again, you can just put whatever size that you need in there. Like this is an 8mm impact driver that I had on there for working on my quad the last time I worked on it, and so you can just swap them out. To recap, the big dog is, let's see, what's the model number for it? It's the KIW 1524A-03. You're looking at 650 foot-pounds of torque. Next is the smaller one, and those are, let's see, what's the model number? I don't think I gave you guys the model number of this. It is KCW 5024B-03. This has a 3-speed gearbox on it as well. And the finish set function does not work on this. even though it's still on there, right? It's just cheaper and easier to leave it on there versus take it off. And then we also have the 1/4 inch driver. And basically the innards and the motors on these 3 drivers, not this one, but the 3 that would be over here if I had a 3/8 driver here as well. So whether it's the 3/8, 1/2, or 1/4, they're all basically the same thing. And you could make, right, any one of these things do something that the other won't. The reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because if you're like me and you got to stretch every dollar and save every penny, you might be able to get by with, you know, not needing the 650 foot-pounds of torque that has if you're just working on your car and stuff like this. This is perfectly capable of taking the lugs off a car. You could also remove a lug off a car with, you know, this 1/4 inch driver. As simple as, like I was showing you earlier, adding the 1/4 inch on there, and then of course you would want, you know, the black sockets, you know, the impact sockets as well. Well guys, thanks for joining me today. I do realize that this video has been a little long, especially for YouTube. You know, YouTube will tell you attention span is about 3 to 5 minutes, which is true. You know, I can go look at my back office and see, but honestly, I don't make my videos for people like that because there's plenty of people out there that cater to that just want views. And what I try to do anyways is to bring value to my subscribers. And hopefully I've taught you something today about the Kobalt line that you didn't already know. And so if you wouldn't mind, if you learned something new about the Kobalt line, I'd appreciate it if you'd post it below. We always appreciate the thumbs up. Thank you very much for thumbing up the video. And also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this video on your favorite social media sites, we would greatly appreciate that too. That benefits our family, and we greatly appreciate it. Well, if you have any questions or comments about the Kobalt impact line, whether you want to call it an impact driver or an impact wrench, I guess from, you know, my perspective, I would call something like this big one a wrench, and, you know, maybe something like this a driver. But anyways, all right guys, well thank you again. I greatly appreciate it. My family appreciates you watching the video today, and I hope you're having a blessed and wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon. Shalom. Hey guys, don't forget to stick around for the bonus material after the end of the credits. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around for the bonus material. I greatly appreciate it. You know, you can go anywhere from, well, as of the day I'm making this, November the 28th of 2018, Kobalt is making a 1.5, a 2, and a 4 amp hour battery. They did have a 5 out for a while. I never saw a 5 in my local store, however you could buy them online. And right now on Lowe's.com it's showing a 6 amp hour battery, so my guess would be they discontinued the 5 and they're no longer going to carry that. They'll just carry the 6 once it's done and it's stocked, but as of this date it's not available in store or online. And I would also guess that because they raised the price of the 1.5 from like 10 or 11 bucks up to 16, 17 bucks, at least at my local store, they're probably planning on phasing that out as well, and you'll just have the option of 2, 4, and 6 amp hour batteries, and all the batteries work in all of the tools. All right, so I was talking earlier about, see how that's all, the paint's completely taken off there? That's because someone, not me, used this, and you know, they didn't have an extension on there or whatever, and you know, you're pushing this up against something and it just gets all, you know, torn and marred up. And so that's the benefit of having an extension on either a drill or an impact driver. And another reason why I went with the 1/2 inch instead of the 3/8 is because the 1/2 inch is a lot easier to find impact sockets in. And I just checked my impact socket set, and it goes all the way down to 10 millimeter, you know, with a 1/2-inch drive on it. Hopefully that'll be helpful to someone else as well. All right, guys, and as long as we're talking about such things with specs, some things that you may not be aware of, there are manufacturers out there that give their tools very optimistic ratings. We'll just put it at that. And so, you know, if I were you, what I would do is I would get online and look for online tool reviews where they're showing you the drills that you're looking at versus other drills. And from everything that I have seen so far, you know, the whole Kobalt line, and you know, it's only been out for a couple of years. You know, a lot of the big tool channels that do the head-to-head reviews, not everything on there, well, how would I put that? Not every tool that Kobalt has in its line has had the opportunity to perform in a test like that. So that's something else to be aware of, obviously. But having said that, go and look at how these Kobalt 24-volt tools compare to the big name, big price tools that are out there. These tools can hang, you know, with the best of the best for significantly less in some cases, you know, the cost of what those other tools are. And also one other thing that I would add to it is look for head-to-head competitions of the tools that are not subjective. So what do I mean by non-subjective? Well, you know, like sometimes these larger channels, just in my opinion, sometimes they tend to favor a particular color of tool, and we'll just leave it at that. They'll do like 5 or 6 different tests, and the way they weight those tests differently as to, you know, what tool becomes the overall winner of the quote-unquote shootout, right? But having said that, some of those tests are like, you know, they'll have like oscillating tool, right? They'll use the oscillating tool, and you know, they'll cut through 10, 16 penny nails. And so they had it in, you know, they had all of their testers do that, and then they had the testers rate the tool on what they thought was best about it. Well, that's pretty subjective, right? You know, that's not actually testing the performance of that tool as it is the preference of the user of that tool. And so those are the things that you have to keep in mind when you're looking at the specs of these different units. Now obviously if it's the same manufacturer and they're both brushless, then you know this one is going to have a little bit better performance than this one because this is the standalone drill and this is the kit drill. You know, be aware of that when you're looking at online advertising and mark, so to speak, for the cordless tools that you are looking for. Thanks for watching the bonus material. I hope you're having a great day, guys. Shalom.